So I had an amazing mother, really amazing woman, and she was a teacher, full of energy when she could be. And then in her early 50s, she developed a very rare form of cancer, blood cancer, and they just didn't know how long she would live. I was in my 20s. I was living in Japan, and I came back, and my mum looked all right, so I thought, kind of, that's fine. And I think we rallied round, and then she had a lot of blood transfusions, but in between she was my mum. She was just normal. And then I moved up north. We lived down south, but I moved up north, and she deteriorated, and she came to see me when I was about 3 months pregnant. And I was really, really sick, just morning sickness, but she wanted me to come up, go to Scotland, and I just wasn't well enough. So she went up and then came to see me on the way back, and I could see she'd really deteriorated, but she put on a really brave face. But when I was at work during the day, I worked out that she slept all the time and then was there bright in the evening. And then about a month later, so I was nearly 4 months pregnant, I went to see her, and she was at home, but she was really poorly. And all she said to me was, I know it's going to be all right. I just know everything will be all right. And the next day she went into hospital, and she deteriorated really quickly, and she died 4 days later. It was really hard not having my mum, who was such a proper mum, and not there. And she'd worked out for her transfusions so that she would be around when my baby was born, and she wasn't there. That was really hard, and I'd moved to Winchester by then, and I knew nobody. And obviously you couldn't kind of go, hello, I'm having a baby and I've just lost my mum and everything like that. But actually I found everybody so friendly. But my one criteria was that I had to be able to walk into town. I had to be able to cope on my own, because I felt quite alone. I was able to cope really well, but I'd kind of set it up with that. I suppose that's where the strength was, that I'd planned everything. I think it was really hard when she was born and not to be able to show my mum, because it would have been my mum's dream come true, and she would have been an amazing grandma, and my daughter's never known her. But I then, when she was 7, ended up on my own, and so history felt like it's repeated itself. I think I'm strong because I think my mother showed me that you can do it, and I never imagined I'd have to, but actually she did it with energy, grace, enthusiasm, was a true mum. So even if I did it in a lesser extent, I knew I could do it. I just felt that somehow I would get through it. And you say, well, of course you're going to get through it, but it's how you get through it that's important. And I can't say I've been amazing, but I've definitely been there for her. So I think the strength comes from feeling that part of my mum, because my mum did it for me. Well, I would have loved my daughter to have had the classic happy family. The things we've done before, went to America for holidays, we did all these different things, but actually when I ended up on my own, we went camping, we did lots of very inventive things for not a lot of money, and actually those are far greater memories. And I think the strength that I've got from it is actually, it's all about the experiences together. It's not about the money to take children and do different things with them. It's actually spending time with them, and she's almost fleeing the nest, isn't she? And then this week we got engaged. We've been together for 5 years, and it feels like onwards and upwards, doesn't it? And I suppose I look back and I always thought, why am I having all these hard times? I lost my mum. I was high risk, and then my marriage sadly failed, and everyone else seems to be swimming along and having a great time, and I'm really struggling. And then you realise that in everyone's life, everybody has ups and downs, and it's just at different stages of your life. And I'm just fortunate that at this stage we're having an amazing time, really lucky, aren't we? And I think, well, actually, it almost feels better because I've gone through the pain and now I'm having all the gain.